You've probably noticed it. Carl Jung is everywhere lately. Quotes about the shadow, the unconscious, individuation. They're popping up all over TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Some of them sound almost prophetic, like he's speaking directly to the part of you that's been quietly wondering, who am I really? But who was this man? Why is a long-gone Swiss psychiatrist showing up in the deepest corners of modern spirituality, psychology, and even self-help? The truth is, no short answer does him justice, because Jung wasn't just a thinker. He went somewhere most of us are afraid to go, and when he came back, he brought maps, symbols, warnings, and clues. This video isn't here to explain him, it's here to explore him, to follow the strange trail he left behind and see what it might be leading us toward. Jung was born in Switzerland in 1875 into a household that felt torn between two worlds. His father, Paul Jung, was a rural Protestant pastor, a man of God but quietly burdened by doubt. His mother, Emily, was the opposite, emotionally distant, often unwell, and known to claim she could see spirits at night. So from early on, he was pulled between two realities, one rooted in tradition and belief, the other drifting into the mystical and unknown. He wasn't like the other boys. While his classmates were playing, Jung was lost in thoughts about death, the universe, and the meaning of dreams. He once said he felt like he had two personalities. One was a normal Swiss kid, the other was an old soul who didn't quite belong here. That split between outer life and inner mystery stuck with him. He went on to study medicine, diving into psychiatry, but he never let go of the spiritual questions. Even when he put on the lab coat, a part of him was always looking for something beyond the science. Jung's early work in psychiatry was already pushing boundaries. He was studying schizophrenia, experimenting with dream analysis, and using something called word association to uncover hidden patterns in the mind. He was young, curious, and clearly onto something. That's when Freud found him. Freud was already well known by then, the father of psychoanalysis, and when he read Jung's work, he saw potential. A lot of it. They finally met in 1907, and it said they talked for 13 hours straight on that first day. Imagine that, two brilliant minds diving headfirst into the unknown. For a while, they were unstoppable. Freud even called Jung his spiritual son and successor. Jung brought credibility and fresh energy to Freud's movement. In return, Freud gave Jung a platform and trust. But cracks started to show. Freud believed the unconscious was mainly a storage room for repressed desires, especially the sexual kind. Jung disagreed. For him, the unconscious was a vast symbolic landscape filled with meaning, mystery, and potential. And when Jung started exploring mythology, religion, and even paranormal phenomena, Freud couldn't follow. Eventually, Jung walked away. Not just from Freud, but from the mainstream. And that's when things got really interesting. After breaking away from Freud, Jung didn't just move on with business as usual. He went inward, deep inward. He began having strange dreams and waking visions that shook him to his core. Instead of ignoring them, he welcomed them. He actually followed them. For years, Jung entered what he called a period of creative illness, but it wasn't madness, it was exploration. He spoke to inner figures, recorded their conversations, and painted the landscapes of his inner world. All of this went into a huge mysterious journal with a blood-red leather cover. He called it the Red Book. Jung didn't publish it during his lifetime. In fact, it stayed hidden for almost a century. People weren't even sure it existed. When it was finally released in 2009, it stunned the world. The book was filled with wild symbolic images, dialogues with mythic characters, and deep spiritual insights. It was like watching a scientist become a mystic in real time. This wasn't just therapy or theory anymore. It was a man actively navigating the symbolic terrain of the soul and trying to map it for the rest of us. After Jung's inner journey in the Red Book, he didn't just walk away with strange visions. He came back with a whole new map of the human mind. One of his biggest realizations was that, deep down, we all share something beneath our personal thoughts and memories. He called it the collective unconscious, a kind of shared memory bank that holds patterns, instincts, and symbols passed down through all of human history. This is where archetypes come in. The hero, the wise old man, the shadow, the mother, the trickster. These aren't just story characters. They're ancient patterns that live inside all of us. They show up in dreams, myths, religions, and even Marvel movies. Jung believed we connect with these symbols not because we were taught them, but because we already know them. They're baked into our psyche, and by recognizing these patterns, we can start to understand our inner world better and the roles we unconsciously play in our lives. This is where psychology starts to feel like mythology, and why so many people say that Jung's ideas don't just explain the mind, they speak to the soul. Jung didn't just talk about symbols and archetypes in a poetic way. He believed they had real power, especially the ones we try to ignore. That's where his idea of the shadow comes in. The shadow is everything we don't want to see in ourselves. Our anger, our fears, our selfishness, our insecurities, all the parts we pretend aren't there, but still affect us. According to Jung, true healing doesn't come from pretending to be perfect. It comes from meeting the shadow face to face, owning it, understanding it, even learning from it. This is what he called individuation, the process of becoming your full, authentic self. Not just the good parts, but the whole picture. And Jung believed this process wasn't just therapeutic, it was spiritual. That by integrating the shadow and embracing our inner complexity, we move closer to something deeper. A self that's not just a role we play, but who we truly are. It's why Jung's work hits so hard for people today. He wasn't offering a quick fix or self-help advice. He was inviting us on a journey inward to meet the mystery inside ourselves. So, was Carl Jung just a brilliant psychologist? Or was he something more? He studied alchemy, not as superstition, but as a symbolic map of transformation. He explored astrology, the I Ching, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Gnosticism. He believed that ancient wisdom wasn't outdated, it just spoke a different language. He wasn't a guru, he didn't preach, but he saw life as a spiritual journey. And psychology to him wasn't just about fixing problems, it was about waking up to the deeper self. Jung even built a house by a lake with no electricity, just stone, fire, and silence, because he believed modern life had become too noisy for inner work. And no, he didn't meditate the way we talk about it today, but he did practice something called active imagination, a kind of dialogue with the unconscious, like journaling, dreaming, and inner listening combined. To Jung, the psyche wasn't a problem to solve, it was a mystery to explore. And in that way, maybe he wasn't just a psychologist at all, maybe he was a seeker, just like the rest of us. Jung died in 1961, but somehow he feels more alive now than ever. You see his quotes all over Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. His ideas show up in therapy, coaching, even spirituality circles. Why? Because Jung didn't just study the mind, he studied the soul. And in an age where everything moves fast, where identity feels fragmented and superficial, his work speaks to something deeper, something timeless. He gives us language for things we felt but didn't know how to explain. Why we sabotage ourselves, why dreams stick with us, why we crave meaning, not just success. He didn't offer easy answers, he gave us better questions. And that's maybe why he's everywhere right now, because people are waking up, they're looking inward, and Jung, well, he mapped the terrain.